Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to my channel, Create with Kalia. I'm Kalia. Today's video is the last of my three-part series called Fast and Fabulous. The playlist is linked below, and if you haven't checked that out yet, you'll want to go back and review those videos for full measurements for this layout. Today I'm going to be working on scrapbooking these pictures. I have one 5x7 and 4 pictures printed at 4x4. These two prints from the Botanical Textures pattern paper are my inspiration for this layout. But rather than using the paper, I'm going to be using these two stamps from the Textured Notes stamp set. As I'm considering which colors to use for this layout, I realize there's a lot of brown in my pictures, but I want to pull out the greens of the plants. This layout is also talking about a garden project, so I'm going to start bringing in my different options for green stamp pads to see which greens I feel go best with this layout. I really like the garden green and granny apple green with the pictures that I'm using. Both old olive and shaded spruce don't quite match the greens that are in my pictures, and so I decided to put both of those back. Now I'm ready to start building my layout. I'm using white willow cardstock as the base of my layout. I'm going to start by placing a little pencil mark at the 3.5 inch mark on the left-hand side of my paper and at the 2.5 inch mark on the right-hand side of my paper. As of the posting of this video, the Botanical Textures pattern paper is still available. However, it is listed as a last chance item and it is at a sale price. So if you're interested in picking up that paper, I would recommend that you do so soon. The stamp set is still available and is not currently listed as a last chance item. I'm going to be random stamping on my layout, so I'm putting both stamps I plan to use on blocks so that I have them ready to go. I'm going to start off with using Garden Green and the larger of the two stamps. I ink up the stamp really well, and then I start random stamping along the edge. The Textured Notes stamp set is a cling stamp, which means that it uses red rubber, and it does have some foam built into the stamp set. That means that you do not need to stamp on a foamy surface in order to get a crisp image. I'm making sure I fully ink the stamp before stamping each image, and as I stamp across, I slightly twist the block every time that I stamp to create a randomly stamped image. As I finish stamping this first row, I'm going to then go back and start filling in some of the white space in between the images I've already stamped with the garden green as well. When I've completed stamping with the garden green, I'm going to bring in my smaller stamp and start using Granny Apple Green to stamp that image. I'm going to fill in some of the white space in between the images that I've already stamped. This is the reason for using the pencil mark at the 3.5 inch mark for this page. It's giving me my boundary line for how far into the page I want to stamp. As a reminder, this video is part of a three-part series called Fast and Fabulous. In the previous two layouts, I did use the Botanical Textures paper, but for this layout, I wanted to use the stamp set to help show that you can create a similar look to the paper once the paper is no longer available. I will make sure to link the playlist to the other videos at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned so you can access that playlist. As I finish stamping, this is looking a little bit of a mess, but as soon as I turn it on its side, I really like the way that the stamping has turned out. Next, I'm going to bring in my title, which I have designed using Cricut Print Then Cut, and then I'm also going to bring in my 5x7 photo. I'm placing it in approximately the center of the page, and I'm going to place a pencil mark around the corners of where the photo will be on the page. I'm going to be doing the same random stamping with just the small stamp set using Granny Apple Green ink. And the pencil marks will help make sure that I stamp out far enough so that the images show once my photo is back down on the page. I'm once again making sure that my image is well inked and then moving my block in a random pattern as I stamp to create the randomness of the stamped image. I'm going to stamp all the way around where my pencil marks were, and then I'm bringing my photo back in just to make sure that my image shows in the way that I want to. And I think that that looks good. I'm going to repeat the same process for the right-hand side of my layout, making sure that the image is visible behind the cardstock that I plan to put down. This is what the pages look like side by side, and now I'm ready to bring in my matted photos. The measurements for the mats are included in my previous videos, so please make sure you check that out. I'm going to start adding adhesive, and I am going to make sure that I leave a little bit of room because I will be adding a 1/2 inch strip of pattern paper behind the mats as well. Next, I'm going to bring my title back in. You may have noticed that the color has changed since the beginning of the video. After I had finished stamping with the Granny Apple Green, I realized the original title didn't match the Granny Apple Green very well, and I wanted to have a darker title. So I chose to reprint using a shade that is closer to the garden green. I think that it helps the title stand out a little better as well. I've now also brought in some purple floral pattern paper from the Perennial Lavender collection. I'm also bringing in my Highland Heather ink pad, and I'm going to do some ink blending behind the area where the title is. I use a blending brush and tap it gently on the stamp pad, then tap off a little bit just to make sure I won't have too much ink when I first put the brush down. I'm going to add ink and blend in the area where my title is going to be. I bring my title back in to make sure that I have enough ink and realize I need just a little bit more to the right of where the title will be. Keep in mind that if you're doing ink blending like this, the ink will dry back and be a little bit lighter once it's dry. This now looks perfect to me. I'm going to do some additional ink blending in the bottom left of my page and in the bottom right of the right-hand page as a base of where I will start building my embellishment clusters. I'm going to make sure that I have 3 visual points of interest to help create a visual triangle as I'm creating my embellishment clusters. I'm ready to start building my embellishment clusters, so next I'm going to bring in the Storybook Garden Patch bundle. I'm going to stamp and then use the die cuts to cut out several of the images from the stamp set. I'm also going to bring in the Storybook Moments pattern paper that matches the stamp set. This pattern paper does come with 2 sheets of die cut images, and I'm going to bring in several of the images to help me create my embellishment clusters. All of the items within the Storybook collection are also currently last chance items at a discounted price. So if you're going to want them, I recommend ordering them soon so that you don't miss your chance. A full list of the products that I've used for this layout will be available in the description box, so please make sure to check that out once you're done watching the video. Off camera, I stamped the Storybook Garden Patch images in Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and then used the Pumpkin Pie Stampin' Blends to color in the terracotta pots. I also used Stampin' Write markers in Smoky Slate and Basic Gray to color in the hand tools and the watering can. I've been moving around the die cuts a lot and think that I want to put these flowers right here because they do a good job of covering up this black tarp that was in the back of my photo. I couldn't edit the photo in such a way as to remove the tarp and still have as much of the image as I wanted, but it's also unsightly and brings your eye to that corner of the picture, which I didn't really want. Placing this die cut in the corner is the perfect solution. I do want to quickly note that the Stampin' Write markers are a discontinued item that is also currently listed as last chance at a discount. So order soon if you don't want to miss the opportunity to have the Stampin' Write markers. You've probably noticed that I've been playing around a lot with the placement of the different die cuts and images on this layout. I started off with the terracotta pots standing upright on the left-hand side, but realized that I really wanted to use the pitchfork and realized the proportions didn't look quite right with the terracotta pots standing up. I also really liked the look of the terracotta pots being tipped on their side, so I ended up using the tipped over pots on the left-hand side of my page and put the pots upright on the right-hand side of my page, which also helps me use the die cut that covers up the black tarp. I've printed my journaling on Avery clear shipping labels using Print Then Cut, and I'm ready to stick them down onto my layout. These clear labels are incredibly sticky, so once they touch your paper, they will adhere down. So you do need to make sure that you put them in the right place the first time. The pictures on this layout are from one specific day where my boys and I were helping out with a master gardening project. I've done several videos about this project, including a mini album, and I will link the video for the mini album to this video if you'd like to learn more. And with that, this layout is complete. The ink blending is very subtle in the 3 visual points of interest, but it adds a lot to the embellishment clusters. I love the way the stamping turned out behind the pictures and along the sides of the layout. I've also created more visual interest by using pops of pumpkin pie in each of the embellishment clusters. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and craft on.